one of the point he made also was that what Dr. Karayan did was that at the end of World War I, there were disparate figures about Armenians in the Ottoman Empire. The Turks, of course, were saying there were only 1.2 million. The Patriarchate was saying it's close to 2.2 million or thereabouts. What Dr. Karayan has done with his work, he's actually shown that the Armenian figures of the Patriarchate were actually reliable. All right, so he's sort of reconnected with our own intellectual tradition, with our own critical sources. And this is something that if we were to do it today, we'd be able to argue our case much better and would have a clearer audience to understand the Armenian question and the legacy of the Armenian genocide.
Garbisder Yegiayan.
I just want to express my profound gratitude to Aga Sarafyan and the Gomidas Institute, as well as to Dr. Carla Garabedian.
Louder, please.
Dr. Carla Garabedian, representing the Armenian Film Foundation, for their most important role in promoting this publication. Also to the distinguished daughter of my second father, Dr. Silva Karayan, that makes me her brother. And I believe I'm biased, but I will be very objective. I have stood in awe on several special occasions, visiting our 10th century capital city of Ani, our 10th century cathedral, Holy Cross, on the island of Akhtamar, symbolically climbing Mount Ararat, and visiting Cilicia, Cappadocia, and Western Armenia. But I really stand in awe tonight, holding this very, very precious treasure in my hands, uttered by very prominent physician and historian, Dr. Karayan. I want you to know, this is a game changer. It is a game changer because it answers the revisionist historians, the denialists, members of the Turkish government, especially the president, and all those who are trying to rewrite history. We owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Sarkis Karayan for his monumental research work. I have traveled the region more than 25 times. I wish I had this publication in my hands in order to find all the villages that I wanted to find. And it has not been easy. This is actually the work of an Academy of Sciences in one person, Dr. Sarkis Karayan. Dr. Karayan, as you know, he reviewed all the Armenian encyclopedias one by one. He found so many mistakes in the Hamayda Kidarans, and also shared his opinions on various issues represented in the encyclopedias to the scholars and academicians in Armenia. Describing this publication in a few words, it's unprecedented, it's unmatched, and will continue to be unmatched. It is a fact finder because Dr. Karayan was a truth seeker. My great-grandfather was a senior pastor of the Armenian Surp Asgazin Church in Khulakil, Karpet. I spent hours and hours to find the modern name of Khulakil. Probably it took me 20, 25 hours of research work. It is Shahin Kaya today. And we traveled to the church of my great-grandfather. I found the church, I found our ancestral home. And so many of you have visited with me the church as well as all the historical sites in Cilicia, Cappadocia, and Western Armenia. The names have changed, and it's not easy to find your home, your ancestral home. What Dr. Karayan has done, he has redefined the Armenian map. He has resurrected the Armenian consciousness, the Armenian roots. And when I visit our ancestral land next summer, carrying this book with me, I will be able to find all the villages, all the cities, one by one. In Adana, Haiku has a name, Yolgechen. Imagine, it's not even close. Hajan, Saim Beylik. In Erzurum, Norkagak, Hazaryolu. In Karpet is Elazik today. Hore, Yurbaşı. I was headed to Paris with a friend of mine because she wanted to visit the ancestral home of her grandparents. And the driver said, you know, I'm from Akçakiraz. I said, you know where Akçakiraz is? He said, you know Akçakiraz? I said, yeah, the name is Parchanj. He said, how do you know the name Parchanj? I said, it was an Armenian village. He says, I'm the only one in the village who knows the origin name of Akçakiraz, Parchanj. I said, why are you the only person? He says, you will know in 10 minutes. I will take you to our home. And when we visited his home and met his wife, she was Armenian. She was Armenian. Akçakiraz, Parchanj. Hüsenik, Ulumkent. How could you find Hüsenik? If search for Hüsenik, it is Ulumkent. And Morenik, Çatalçay. It's not even close. Adın, Kemaliye, Peri, Akbazar. You know, I have guided more than 15 groups to our ancestral lands. But next summer, I'm changing the guide. It's not me. It will be Dr. Sarkis Karayan. He will be our guide. And this book will accompany us and him as we go to villages that we never knew existed. And because of this meticulous work, today I can tell you very bravely and boldly, if there will be any reconciliation, Dr. Sarkis Karayan will be the godfather of that reconciliation between Armenians and Turks. I really stand in awe tonight, expressing my profound gratitude to the Babayan, Karayan families, to Gomidas Institute, to the Armenian Film Foundation, for making this possible. You will never know. This will be so valuable, not only for our generation, but for so many generations to come. Thank you.
We have a few minutes for questions, and I'm sure there are questions out there. We can continue to talk here, but Does anybody have any thoughts or questions about maps, villages? Questions about what this book is? Yes.
Armenian. My name is Sarkis Karayan. I worked as an advisor to the Patriarch of Jerusalem from 2014 to 2016. I have seen with my own eyes archives written by the Patriarch of Istanbul where they give the names of each village, Armenian village. And the Patriarchate ordering with a circular that please give real numbers. This was in 1914 when the Western and European are coming to Anatolia, West Armenia, to assess the number of Armenians. So I support you that one should know Armenian because we have a lot of, when I'm saying I have seen with my own eyes, I'm talking about 14 bucks of archives, the photocopies of the real ones. So I think that this book will help us to give more importance and Avunushachu Tarsane, I participate Hayek Kitala, Badatil Laboris Kitate, many Jesus of the Mark Hesta say, the Hadrank Asha Peragaro, or Yuraganchu Kahana, Yuraganchu Bartolia, Da Mian, Chishritive, was Avetsre, was Patis.
Does anybody have a reply, Ara?
I think the gentleman made the points that we made. If I may take liberty just adding something. Dr. Karayan does a lot of very good work. He's distilled a lot of information that we're obviously interested in. But I suspect that if he were here, he would also say that his references are the key. That there's more to these village lives, the names of the village and population statistics, that we should actually look at the publications. You know, on Kesaria, there's 3,000 pages, Al-Boyajan's work. So one possibility in a practical perspective would be, maybe the library here might say, if there are 130 or so core books, maybe we should make an effort to have a core collection, at least one in California, one on the East Coast. These are practical steps. This is a legacy of Karayan too. He's already identified what those core works are. Often those books are being thrown away in other communities because people don't realize their importance. So maybe we can get these orphan books and make key collections, maybe one here, one in London, right? So that future generations will also have access to these materials, not just know the language, and in fact, if they see the collections, they'll take it seriously. Because the information in those works, in those publications, is a treasure. Dr. Karayan has only looked at one aspect of that, a very important aspect, but he's also shown how much more can be done.
If I may add something, Carla. I have about 80 of those books, but the problem is the same, as I said. We can put one there, or even electronically, one copy will suffice. But the problem is those books are written in Armenian. And if you don't know Armenian, what is the value of the book to you? See? And I'm not speaking for the general population. I'm speaking that if you are going to become an expert about Armenian issues, and especially modern Armenian history, dealing with the genocide or pre and after the genocide periods, that puts us from 1870 to 1930-40. Knowing Armenian is imperative for such experts. That's the problem, and I agree with Dr. Minas Kojaya because the archives are very important, and the archives of of our Patriarchate in Constantinople, as well as the archives in Jerusalem, are not open to everybody. Only selected academicians have visited it, and in a certain capacity, not all of them. And this also puts pressure on us to work towards opening those archives, because there are many more things in those archives that belong to our modern history, and we don't know them.
Yes, Jose.
To recap what's been said clearly, if Dr. Karayan did not know Armenian, we wouldn't be here today commemorating this particular book. In the meantime, I would like to also point out that there is usually comparison sometimes between the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust. Most of us probably don't know that the word Holocaust was used the first time by Churchill describing what was going on with the Armenian people. And it's quite unfortunate that the Israeli government and the Knesset every year allegedly is going to acknowledge the fact that the genocide, but for geopolitical reasons, shame on them, are morally bankrupt to do so, and that really hurts us plenty. I hope that if there are people around here, whether in the Diocese or elsewhere, could pass some judgment of what's going on, because I personally am very hurt with this. Thank you much.
Kristen, did I understand correctly that they're using the book to enhance the video recordings that you have from Dr. Goodman on looking to pinpoint the locations of the witnesses where they say where they were from?
Exactly, yes.
So it's ongoing project, the show foundation?
Yeah, that's exactly.
So a lot of times survivors will mention a village or where they were born, and for all the interviews are indexed, as you know. If the person doing the indexing or translating doesn't know where that place is, what do you do with that? And if every survivor has a place on a map. Every survivor for whatever conflict or genocide is represented in the collection. But if you don't know where that place is, you can't put them on a map. So it's an interesting exercise that this archive is actually creating a map of genocide victims for each genocide: the Holocaust, the Armenian genocide, the Tutsi Rwandan genocide, the Nanjing massacres. As I understand, in each testimony you try to find the place where the person came from.
We use the same approach of whatever is said in the interviews, when people are talking about a place, we try and find it, document it and put it on a map, yes. Of course, it's not only the places of where Armenian communities lived in the Armenian genocide case, it's also the places where people were massacred, wherever they may be. So insofar as interviewees talk about that, that's what we try and document.
Yes.
I was going to say, especially for the USC thing, that when you go to the Washington, D.C. Jewish Museum, the first thing you see when you enter the Holocaust Museum is who remembers the Armenian genocide? Adolf Hitler, 1932. If they had recognized the Armenian genocide, there would not have been the Holocaust. So we have to, as they said, Israel should accept. Enough is enough. But they need Turkey, so Armenians are not important.
Gentleman over there, please. Hello.
Private, lobby